Good morning, everyone. Schuyler Callihan here on Between the Ears. Make sure you continue to hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Mountaineers Now and giving us a follow on X at that same handle. Yesterday, we got to hear from head coach Neal Brown. Talked about a lot of different things from the offensive line to newcomers to just the areas of improvement from where they are or from where they were even at the bowl game compared to where they are now, and a few other things. If you want to check out some of the biggest quotes or maybe the most notable worthy quotes, you can go and check that out on mountaineersnow.com under the quick hits article. So, but today we're going to talk about the offensive line because this is kind of one piece I think that everybody just assumes is going to be A-OK, and it's going to be right there with where it was a year ago. The problem is you're losing two really, really good players, two guys that are going to be in the NFL, Zach Frazier and Doug Nestor. And anytime you have a change at center, whether it's just an ordinary, just a rock solid center or an All-American type like Zach Frazier, who has the chance of being a first round pick, it's a tough deal to go through. It's a tough transition. You have somebody like Brandon Yates that's got a little bit of experience waiting. Obviously, he finished off that drive at Baylor. He started in the bowl game, so he's got a little bit of experience. He's played all across the line. He's played at left tackle. He's played at guard. So I think he even split some time at right tackle in 22. With Jaquay Hubbard before both of those guys got kicked inside. But it's a tough transition, not just for Brandon Yates, but really for that whole entire offensive line, because the center is the guy that calls the shots. He IDs everything. He makes sure everyone's on the same page. He's essentially the quarterback up front. And that's a skill that very few, I wouldn't say have, but are able to have because it's so in depth. It takes a very high IQ player to play that position at a high level, and not just his position, but he's really got to kind of care and worry about the other four guys on that line. So it does help that he has Tomas Remack. It does help that Brandon Yates has Jaquay Hubbard to his right and Wyatt Milam at left tackle. There's a lot of experience still within that group, but it's going to take some time. And Yates is a smart football player, obviously. How do I know that? Because he's played damn near all five positions up front. If you can play all five or at least four, I mean, that shows you the kid knows what he's doing, and he can pretty much play anywhere without missing a beat. So I think these early kind of reports from Neal about the defensive line handed it to the O-line last Friday. They did bounce back earlier this week and had a better day, better couple of days, I should say. But it's all about life after Zach Frazier, really, to me. That's just what this little period here is in the spring. It's not whether or not Brandon Yates can be the starting center. They know he can. He knows he can. It's just getting through this transition period because he's now having to take on everything that Zach had to take on. And really then some, because he's learning. This is the first time that he's really playing this position full time. He was playing guard, he was playing tackle, he was playing a bunch of other spots. And sorry if you're hearing all this noise in the background. We've got the dumpster people here, but the thing about Brandon is that he's been so willing to just jump in and be a part of whatever drill that he needs to be a part of to learn and excel. And he's a quick learner. I mean, when he made the transition from tackle to guard, I didn't really see much of a difference in terms of his play. And I mean, just go back and look at what he did in the bowl game and what he did really in that game against Baylor to come in out of nowhere, cold off the bench, and have four perfect snaps to deliver a win. So I don't think, again, it's not a question of whether or not he's going to be or can be the center. It's just this transition period. And like Neal said, I mean, you got to think about this too. Zach Frazier has been going off on Hammond Russell, Fator Momoba, Eddie Vesterinen, whoever's been lining up across him for, the last several years. And as he said, he won a lot of those battles. But Hammond Russell, Fator Momoba, and so on and so forth, they got a lot better going up against Zach Frazier every single day. So you could probably argue that because those guys went up against Zach every single day, and Brandon was, playing at different spots, that they should have the leg up. Iron sharpens iron. Zach Frazier made those players much, much better. And now those guys can kind of do that in return to Brandon Yates. So I think it's nothing to be concerned about in terms of Brandon Yates. The guard, right tackle, it looks like Jaquay Hubbard is it's his job to lose really at right guard, right tackle. A little bit of competition there between Nick Malone and Xavier Bosley. Johnny Williams, I believe, is more so on the left side, but he can go over and play right if needed. It's interesting to see how that side's going to shape out because, in my opinion, I think Nick Malone is going to end up being the guy. Xavier Bosley, he's impressive. Jacksonville State transfer. He's a freshman All-American down there at the FCS level. He's a West Virginia kid. I think he's got, maybe he might be one of those guys that just needs about 4 or 5 weeks of actual season ball before he takes over. So we may see a situation where Nick starts the season. If he does okay, they'll let it roll. But if he's starting to struggle or is a little inconsistent, maybe they'll split time there, kind of like how they did with Yates and Hubbard a couple of years ago at right tackle. But my thing is on this, I'm more concerned about the run blocking really than the pass protection. Because when you have Garrett Green, I mean, he's going to do what he's going to do. He has the legs to be able to escape pressure. He's going to get the ball out quick. He's got playmakers that can get separation earlier in their routes. There's not a concern for me in terms of pass protection because he can take and he can cure a lot of that himself. The running part of it, you got CJ Donaldson, who's a heavy hitter. He's going to be more patient. You need those holes to open up. Jaheim White, he's his own thing. He's a jitterbug. He's electrifying, but he needs holes to run through. And when you don't have Zach Frazier, and again, this is not a knock on Brandon Yates, but when you don't have an All-American, who's got that wrestling background that can just latch on to people and not let go, that's a whole new ball game that you're playing up there. So what kind of aspect in the run game are we going to see from Brandon Yates? Is he someone that's going to be physical like Zach Frazier was? I don't know if he's going to be that. I think he's going to be more so the athletic type because, again, that versatility that he has in his background of being a tackle, being a guard. He's probably going to be more athletic. He's going to need Tomas Remack. He's going to need Jaquay Hubbard on each side of his hips to really help drive and get to that next level. So I don't know what the run schemes are going to look like. We'll see maybe a little bit of it in spring ball, in the spring game. But I have a feeling some of these run concepts are going to be altered a little bit because you don't have a Zach Frazier at center. The right tackle spot, it's important, but I don't think it's as near of a concern because you have two guys there that have experience. You got one guy that played last year in this system, played pretty well when needed. You have another guy that was an All-American at the FCS level, like I just said, and Xavier Bosley. You're pretty good at that spot. Center, it's really Brandon Yates and a lot of unknowns. Landon Livingston, they feel like he's starting to come on, but the strength isn't there yet. They've got other guys from other positions taking snaps at center. They even got Wyatt Milan taking snaps at center just in case. So you really, really need Brandon Yates to have a strong spring. You need to exit spring with Brandon Yates just coming out and saying, I am the center. There are no worries here. If that happens, then you're in a good spot. If it's kind of an up and down month or so, I don't know. You might have to look into the transfer portal and just bring in some competition. It doesn't have to be someone that's a clear-cut starter, but you need somebody there. And they may be doing this anyways. You need somebody there to push Brandon and give him that little extra nudge. Now, Kyle Altuner, the incoming freshman, maybe he's that guy. I'm extremely, extremely high on Altuner. I think he's going to be one of the best players from that class. Is he going to be able to play in year one? I don't know. Matt Moore's played guys in year one. He's played Zach Frazier. He's played Wyatt Milan. He's not afraid to do it. So maybe that's the case. Same situation that you had at right tackle. Maybe you start Brandon Yates there if he struggles. Hey, freshie, you're going to get your chance. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. We'll see if the offensive line progresses over the next couple of weeks or so, leading up into that spring game at the end of the month. But that's going to do it for me here today and this week here on Between Ears. Make sure, again, you hit that subscribe button and give us a like on our YouTube page at Mountaineers Now. Give us a follow on X at the same handle, and we'll check back in here on Monday. Take care, everybody.